of ways.
Yo.
So I think it's a good time.
Yo, YouTube, what it do, It's Maribacho420 The Politician. Like, share, subscribe.
So the Trump administration says Haiti no longer meets the requirements for temporary protected status, and a lot of people are soon gonna have to leave. But nobody upset about this wants to acknowledge that the
So, I guess his make America MAGA, they want the United States to be only, I repeat, only Americans. He's getting rid of every race that's in here illegally, which means he's trying to get the whole United States full of just Americans. Well, there goes our buildings.
T in TPS stands for temporary. This is not a permanent program, and it was never designed to be. But that's not what activists want. They want this to be permanent, which would essentially mean reopening the US border through a back door. But here's where things get interesting. Protected status for Haitian nationals was supposed to expire back in 2021, a decade after an earthquake devastated their country. But President Biden extended it for his predecessor to deal with. And because his predecessor isn't an open borders socialist, who likely would have extended it yet again, the program is gonna expire as it was designed to do. But the thing is, since it's Trump who's now in charge, well, he must just be a big jerk. At least that's the story the other team is spinning. Never mind that TPS designations aren't a means to legal immigration at all. Rather, they're a form of humanitarian aid for disaster-hit areas of the globe. For example, Venezuela and Ukraine also have TPS designations. But as with all forms of immigration, the open borders crowd wants everyone who finds themselves within our borders to stay here forever. Which brings us to the real reason there's such a massive fight going on over this. The open borders crowd is going to use the
That's fucked up. Everybody that had that temporary pass, they're taking that shit. I mean, the name fucking says it all, though.
expiration of temporary protected status for Haitian nationals, along with about 19 or 20 other countries, all set to expire over the next few months, as a weapon to try and turn the American people against a president who was elected to close the border. Something that has not been done in a very long time. And the argument is that by ending temporary protections for countries which experienced disasters decades ago is wrong and cruel and unfair, and that nobody should support a president of a country that took care of folks in a way no other country does. Yeah, that's how this is gonna work.
Here are the top 10 countries whose illegal or inadmissible aliens enter the United States under the Biden-Harris administration as a percentage of their home country's population. Number 10, Colombia. Number 7, Venezuela. Number 4, Haiti, 4%. Number 3, Honduras, 5.9%. Most of these migrants crossed the border illegally, claimed asylum, and were released into the United States with a court date many years later. The rest were inadmissible aliens flown directly into the interior of the United States or ushered in with the CBP-1 app as part of an unprecedented mass parole program for Cubans, Haitians, Nicaraguans, and Venezuelans, also known as the CHNV program.
Right, so these programs, although they may have helped a large number of people, they were incredibly unsustainable, and very little vetting was done, if any vetting was done at all. And many national security experts are saying that this has created a potential big problem for America that could unfold in the near future if something isn't done today. And the excuse for how loosely these programs were allegedly run is that disasters don't leave time for proper security measures. And in order to help as many people as possible, we have to somewhat throw caution to the wind and just take people's word for it, even though there have been many instances over the last 4 years of certain individuals concealing their rightful identity to benefit from a protected status that never should have applied to them in the first place.
The Department of Homeland Security put out a federal notice that says Haiti no longer meets the statutory requirements for temporary protected status, and Haitian nationals who have been in the U.S. need to leave. Federal leaders also say, quote, allowing Haitian nationals to remain temporarily in the United States is inconsistent with U.S. national interest.
Okay, it's important to understand the U.S. government, their stance is that Haiti is no longer the disaster-struck region it was, and that is why it no longer meets the definition of a country where nationals should get protected status in America. And it's also important to remember that the expiration date for temporary protected status has not only been pushed back several times, but isn't arbitrarily happening in early February. This is something people have known about for a very long time. It's just that it's happening now, and it's not being extended, which is why there's a new fight brewing over it. And look at this. Temporary protected status is due to conditions in a country that temporarily prevent its nationals from returning safely. Says right here, armed conflict,
so
environmental disaster like an earthquake or some other extraordinary and temporary condition. So if a country has a permanent problem, temporary protected status is off the table.
And so many people, so many folks with TPS who've been in the United States since the Haiti earthquake of 2010 have become homeowners, business owners, have assets. And so we've been telling them too that they needed to make sure to take care of those.
Right, so okay, that was over 15 years ago, this earthquake. And again, temporary protected status for Haitian nationals, it has been extended numerous times.
Hold on, fool. A disaster? You can't take away from a disaster. It's like saying Katrina, the people from Katrina. Or where was it? Where it was somewhere else and they took refuge. Well, I remember when we used to go to the youth center. They were talking about letting refugees. I don't know what it was. A hurricane hit somewhere, fool. I don't know where I'm going with this, fool.
That's because the people who extended it didn't want to deal with the potential backlash for letting it expire. So we ended up having a 15-year immigration program that was temporary. And what are people supposed to do? You can't blame people who are from Haiti for doing their best to succeed in America during this program, but you can blame the politicians for constantly extending it. That's what allowed people to come here and have their lives disrupted. And now the American people are once again having their empathy weaponized against them in an attempt to reopen the border through some sort of backdoor migration program, which totally disregards the most effective way to help people in need. It would be far less disruptive to people's lives if the United States enforced its own laws, and if we had leaders who had the courage to do the right thing while at the exact same time helping individuals rebuild their home countries. Something that has happened in Haiti to the tune of $13 billion, which for some reason nobody seems to be able to keep track of. And it's not just...
If I was, I would not go where people already know for a damn fact a certain group is gonna be there. I would not be a lone ranger, fool. Que no vayas donde ya saben que cómo se juntan. Que no vayas en donde ya saben que se juntan en una pinche parte de la ciudad. Hasta un pinche güey solo. Porque va a caer, güey.
Haiti that is going to soon have its temporary protected status expire. This affects a whole host of different countries.
Plans are in the works to end deportation protection for two major immigrant groups in Minnesota. Hundreds may soon have to return to Somalia and Myanmar.
I think everybody's still shocked.
Christopher Tunbao is the owner and chef at Mandalay Kitchen in St. Paul. As a small boy, Christopher was forced to flee his homeland. He lived in a Thai refugee camp
people
before coming to St. Paul 25 years ago. Christopher,
you're getting... Damn, these fools didn't... Well, their parents, his parents, they done dealt with crazy shit. Is my fucking... That shit crazy, fool.
is one of roughly 20,000 Karen people living in Minnesota. On Monday, the Department of Homeland Security announced people with temporary protected status from Christopher's homeland would have to return.
So right here, this is why
Terminating temporary protected status. I think they tell you. I think they tell you when you first get that. Just because it says temporary, it might not happen now, but we don't know how it's gonna go down. Whenever they had that, for the people that had that and they're like older and shit, when they first got that, you know they told them it's not a full ride. Not a full ride scholarship, fool. They said, they might have said, hey, not right now, but who knows long down the way. Put yourself in the position of way back, like 2005 and shit, or wherever they fucking, whenever they did the, for the and now, they said, this is not now, but later on, maybe. Maybe that temporary is going to get voided.
Protected status is such a hot button issue. You have a country that has been involved in a terrible conflict. That conflict springs up out of nowhere. And what happens? A generous nation like the United States steps in and says, you know what? We're going to get people out of that country and give them a place to stay where they will be protected and fed and taken care of, and where they can have jobs and provide for themselves. And then when things cool off, when this temporary condition subsides, then those folks will be given the chance. We will help them go back to their home country. But you know what? If we're going to have programs like this, we've got to do the right thing, not just when the program starts, but also when it temporarily ends. If we're not going to do that, we've got a system here that operates at the expense of Americans and legal residents who've immigrated to this country the right way. And what this means is that there's always going to be an excuse to never end temporary protected status. The empathy of Americans will always be used against them whenever one of these programs has.
Can you imagine for the countries? Can you imagine the countries where these people are getting back and they're being transported back to their homeland? Full. Is that gonna overcrowd things and shit in their countries? Can you imagine how many people are here? They go back, they're gonna flood the streets, fool. That's crazy.
To expire. And then at the other end of this whole spectrum, we've got the issue of vetting. Vetting was not done to the degree national security experts now are saying it should have been, to keep the country safe.
I don't think it's a bad thing at all. I mean, Trump did this in his first administration. He met with a lot of criticism. That didn't see it. That doesn't stop him. I think it's needed. I mean, during the Biden administration, what, 17, 18 million people came to this country, most of them illegally, without vetting. We got all the gotaways. So it's impossible that terrorists and terrorist organizations have not infiltrated into the United States. So, yeah, I think it's a good time to pause and get caught up.
So it's important to understand that, let's take Venezuela, for example, here. Venezuela has a couple of temporary protected status programs, and people who entered the country illegally and were from Venezuela, well, they could still take advantage of those programs, and they were protected from being deported, even if they came into the country the wrong way, and even if they were somebody that may have hid their identity. And that's what they're talking about right here. They're talking about the idea.
You see that? People are leaving their country to come somewhere where they know it's safe. Those were faces of, full, we need to get the fuck out of here and go somewhere in here and just live our lives as much as they could. The ambition, fool, knowing that they might get arrested. The want for a better life is crazy, fool.
That so little vetting was done that we actually don't necessarily know about all of the people that are within the United States right now. And that could be a big problem because, sadly, not everybody out there has the best intentions of our country at heart. There are people, there are gang members, there are criminals who traveled here for the express purpose to...
Look, fool, you done fucked it up for everybody, fool. You done fucked that shit up for everybody, doggy. That's what they're waiting for, fool. They're waiting for you to throw a logo so they can speak on the logo and be like, see, this is what I'm talking about. Fucking throw a fart next time.
To commit crime in America and make it better for themselves and their criminal empire. At the same time, there are many people who may have fraudulently claimed.
See, people, the way they cut into people like, oh, let's not get him, he looks peaceful. They're just waiting to record somebody to do some shit, to throw up a logo or talking shit crazy. You done fucked it up for everybody, fool.
That they were from a country where temporary protected status existed so that they could stay in America longer when they had no right to even claim that status.
Apprehended by Border Patrol agents. Now, the idea here is that they're going to come in without any form of identification, and they will be processed with whatever information is provided by the migrant.
This was our border.
The problem, though, is that we are basically taking people's word for it, that they say who they are, they're from whatever country they're from. When they say they don't have any criminal history, they've never been arrested or something, like, we're just be like, hopefully they're telling the truth. But we have no real way of knowing that.
So the U.S. border was run on the honor system for 4 years. If someone came in and they said, I'm from Venezuela or I'm from Haiti, and there's a temporary protected status designation, that person, the information they provide is accepted. They are photographed. A profile is created for them that says that they are from the country they've claimed they're from and that their name is what they say it is. Even though in this report right here, they've got pictures of people's documents being dumped on the Mexican side of the U.S. border before they come in. So they come in and, oh, I don't have any documentation. Were some of those people telling the truth? Did some of those people lose their documents? I'm sure they did, but not everybody did, and there are some people who may have claimed to be
That's crazy, fool.
Someone that they're not. And this is why critics of programs like temporary protected status say these should have been allowed to expire and that it's definitely time for them to expire now that that date has been pushed back. Because something's got to be done. America has a very insecure border. Gangs like Tren de Aragua from Venezuela have made their way into sanctuary cities and gone about committing crime. We saw this just a few weeks ago in Chicago. And this is where the argument that continually extended...
That's what I don't get. You're over here claiming that you want to get everybody that's not documented the fuck out of here, but yet you're releasing these fools into certain parts of the fucking country and then leave those fools that are doing bad, that are fucking known for being bad, still left here so you can fucking point your finger and say, look, there is still people from here and here. Well, motherfucker, you fucking put them there, fool. You left them there so you could have a fucking finger to point. To say, look, see what I mean?
Designations goes against our national interests comes up. That is exactly what Homeland Security means when they say, hey, this might not be a good idea for America to continue these things forever.
Okay, so the other issue here, Nicole, is that most countries don't actually share any criminal information with the United States. One source telling me that unless the host nation puts out an international BOLO, an alert for a criminal, we don't actually have access to other countries' databases unless they alert us.
Tackled or what?
So it is impossible to say how many migrants are crossing each day with a violent criminal past, and Border Patrol agents, they also have no way of knowing. The only thing they are really going to know, Nicole, is if they've come into the United States and they've committed any kind of criminal infraction here, or if they've committed an immigration violation. So those things would be in the system. They come over, they get that initial social screening recognition in the field, and that will show immigration infractions if they've already come in and been deported already.
But that's only what we know about.
That's the only way that they're going to know who these individuals are, and it's something that Border Patrol agents are describing as scary.
So the thing is, if somebody shows up at the border and they say they don't have any documents and they say they don't have a criminal past, there was no way to know if that person was being honest or not. Now, I hope that most people were being honest. And I would assume that the majority of people did, but that doesn't mean this system was okay. That doesn't mean criminals didn't take advantage of this. We know criminals from various parts of the world took advantage of American generosity related to these temporary resettlement programs in some way and have used it not to make our country better at all.
I would be hard-headed to say that there wasn't criminals using this system to milk it and still continue their things here. I would be hard-headed not to say, yeah, there wasn't nobody bad. I'm pretty sure, fool, wouldn't you? If you have a record in a country and you go to another country because you know that if you go over there, there ain't no way of you getting your record to the United States.
And when you give criminals an incentive not to tell the truth, you shouldn't be surprised when some of them take you up on it and take advantage of that incentive. On top of that, you had...
Is that caught wearing a fucking... Is he a narc? He's either a hard ass or a narc. Fool, that's like an ICE agent over here wearing a fucking face mask, a fucking shiesty with the fucking, what is that? A dollar sign? That's crazy.
Smugglers in gangs who were making billions of dollars a year off the U.S. open border, coaching people, telling them to say, hey, claim you're from a country with a temporary protected status. That will help you stay in America longer. And that has a lot to do with why there are so many documents that just seemed to make it all the way up to the Mexican border, but then never made it across. And with these smugglers basically bankrupting and indenturing their quote-unquote customers, there existed a massive financial incentive for people to say whatever it took to get into the country. But there's another issue behind all of this as well. And that issue is that there is really no infrastructure inside America itself to secure the border. We have a border for the express purpose of vetting who comes in and who comes out. But once somebody is on the inside, you've got sanctuary cities, you've got infrastructure all over the place set up by criminal organizations, you've got illicit labor coordination between criminal gangs and U.S. businesses to hide people in labor situations that are totally against the law. And there are some people who are now saying that people should be able to stay here forever just because they've been here for more than, let's say, a year or a few months. What do you think about all of that? Should temporary protected status be temporary?
This is Maribacho420 The Politician. Let's get it in. Watch that ass, YouTube.